So my topic is long-term health implications of sports. So sports are one of the most common ways for children to stay active and healthy. And some other benefits are social engagement, helps them learn responsibility, boosts self-esteem, helps them to learn how to be a part of a team, and it also helps with discipline. So most children play sports while they are in elementary and middle school growing up, but only 45% of children are only playing a single sport. And the average child quits playing sports by age 11. And some reasons that a child would stop playing sports would be burnout. So they're just being worked too hard for what their body can handle. So they're just tired all the time. Their muscles are sore. It's just too much for them. Another reason would be pressure from parents. So their parents are just being really strict, really hard on them, expecting them to perform maybe higher than they are able to. And so that could lead to a loss of interest in the sport, and it just not being fun anymore. And 90% of kids said that the main reason they play sports is to have fun. So if the fun aspect is taken out of it, then that is a very high likelihood that the child is going to want to quit playing the sport. And also in today's world, children are more inclined to sit on the couch and play video games rather than go outside and play games outside and interact with other kids maybe. So with all of this being said, sports can have long-term implications that affect their physical and mental health, and this can be positive or negative implication just kind of based on who the kid is, what sport they're playing, maybe their experience going through it. So my reason for being interested in this is that I played sports growing up, my siblings played sports growing up, and I had a lot of friends who did too, all throughout our childhood and teenage years. And I also gained many friends through the sports that I played in. I'm also curious about the physical, but also the psychological implications of playing sports. That's just very interesting to me to see what research says about that. And then I know I also have been impacted from things that I've learned while playing sports just as a college student. And then I also know there are many positive long-term effects, but I'm very interested to see what the negative long-term effects are. So how this relates to my future career goal is that I want to pursue a sports rehabilitation physical therapist career. So I'm interested in how the long-term effects would show in someone who's still in their teenage years, seeing how preventative measures can be taken early and maybe how coaches or parents could maybe change how they're doing things, maybe make it more interactive, more engaging, and again, just more fun so that the kids want to keep playing because it is very good for them. So moving on to the research. So the research I found was very helpful. I found that there are physical and psychological implications. So starting with the physical consequences can burden someone to not continue being physically active later in life. So for example, if they have an injury, that's going to lead to a long-term life of physical inactivity. And there has been a steady decline in former athletes continuing to be physically active after they stop playing the sport. And then also former competitive athletes have several barriers to continue being physically active than a non-athlete would. So this would be like sport-specific training or sport-specific goal orientation, or emphasis on athletic identities. So all of these things kind of restrict them in their abilities or their mentality of being able to do different things. So they're kind of stuck in the one area. So that kind of leads them to not really trying new things. And so moving on to the psychological, there are three main areas that kind of affect whether a person will continue to be physically active after they stop playing the sport. So the first one is self-efficacy, which is self-confidence in specific context. So this would be based on past performance or achievements that they might have done, and this helps to determine their confidence or how comfortable they are doing similar activities. So the next one is motivation. which is a desire to do something, which is a very good predictor of if they're going to continue being physically active. So there are two types of motivation. The first one is intrinsic, which is participating in the sport or doing it just because it's fun, they enjoy doing it. And the second would be extrinsic. There are many types of extrinsic motivations. So this would be like doing it because it's a part of who they are. They identify with the sport. They just grew up doing it, so they want to continue to be able to do it. And then that would help them be more self-determined to continue to play the sport or exercise later in life, just because they just have a desire to do it. And so the last one is identity, which is how someone sees themselves. There's also a lot of different types of identities that are surrounding this topic. So just for example, someone could have an exercise identity, which is just desiring to do exercise to be fit and just to be healthy. Another example would be athletic identity, which is just desiring to be in the environment of competition and of just being, just like playing against other people in that kind of environment. So overall, this topic, there are long-term health implications of playing sports when you're younger that can determine whether someone will be physically active later in life. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. It just kind of depends on their experience growing up, whether they had injuries, whether they had a lot of pressure, whether it became fun or not, or whether they desire to do it, or things like that. So overall, there are implications to this. So, and then these are my references. Thank you.